That's the worry with hypnotherapy, isn't it? I was worried that you can never snap you out of it. And you'll just act like a chicken on a trigger word for the rest of your life.
It was in Sheffield in the 80s. They had a lot of making people
Do silly
pretend
things.
to get in a bath or have sex or,
I always worry they're still going around now and they haven't been brought out.
masturbating when anyone says the word tomato.
Can't go to Pizza Express, right? Hello and welcome to episode 23 of I'm Fine, a chat between myself, Damo, and the most ripped person I know, Mark.
Good old days.
No.
Yeah.
You're
We'll
still
get back
looking
there.
all
We'll
right.
get back there.
Look at you. Made out, chiseled out of marble. Look at the state of it.
Chill that Play-Doh.
It's a chat around the subjects of health, wealth, well-being, fitness, sport, conspiracy, mindfulness even, a soupçon,
Yeah.
of Fofbok, feet on floor, bum on chair. Got it all covered here. We're all work in progress, and this podcast is no exception. In short, it's a poke at our perfectly imperfect lives, and if we can make just one person feel like they're not alone in all this madness, then our work here is done. Coming up, in Warm Up and Stretch, we've got bookmarks and apologies. My mum's found out what apple water is.
God bless her. What is it?
Come to that.
Okay.
I'm going to spill the beans now, am I? Work-life ballet, our personal health and technology. Going to touch on wearables, and in Drop and Give Me 20, lifting a lot down, the second in our series of 3 workouts you can do at home. This one will be squats.
Yeah.
I do like a squat, I'd never used to, but I really like them. I think because I like the feeling I have after them.
Except I
Do you know
do,
what I mean?
if we're going to jump to apologies, I do owe you apology from the Thursday before last.
Do you?
Those split squats I've done with about 3 clients afterwards, and I've said to all of them, the first person I did this with, when I did like 16 on each side and then holding for 30 seconds. I think I pushed you a bit too far, so
Did you?
apologies. Yeah.
Did everyone suffer like I did?
No, I cut it back to...
Oh, right, you just did that for me. Oh, is that what you mean?
You were
Just
the
did
only
it-
one that I did it for, yeah. So that's my apology.
I'll take that. I feel quite good about myself. How are you? All right?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Okay, next.
I've got nothing to add.
Have you not? I'm fine as well. So there we go. Move on, right?
Yeah.
I'm fine. All right. Bookmarks. Cornwall. I've got 3 bullets under Cornwall.
Yeah.
First of all, jam and cream. I can imagine the inbox is going to be plenty full.
Burgeoning.
Oh yeah. I can just hear my sister-in-law going off. I don't think she listens to it anyway. So
No.
just the fact that
Sorry.
I'm definitely a cream first, and there's a reason for this. What?
Not one that makes sense.
Were you a jam first?
Yeah.
We really are different, aren't
because
we?
I'm sane. I think it's jam.
Well,
Yeah,
can we
it's jam first, yeah.
Okay, explain the sanity of that.
Well, there's even more insanity. I have butter first. So I'd have a double fat.
This is not about fats. This is just about...
It's about fats and sugars, of course it is.
What?
Cream and butter are fats.
Yeah,
and
I
then you have
understand
your
that.
jam.
What's that got to do with the order you put it on?
Okay, so imagine a jammy dodger.
Yeah.
Jam in the middle of 2 fats.
Yeah. Is this going to... The whole debate about...
Imagine a Swiss cream.
I can imagine I can
or
imagine...
a golden crunch. Imagine
Okay,
a golden crunch.
Right, you can
Fries
mention any
golden
food stuff and I'll be able to imagine it, right?
Okay.
I can do that.
There's
My mind can stretch.
Okay. So my view is that you have butter on your scone. Don't tell me call it a fucking scone. You're going to, aren't you?
Scone. Yeah, I'm definitely a scone.
Yeah, so I would have butter and then I'd have jam and then load the cream as much as I could to get the biggest tower of cream.
Do you have trouble getting a tower of cream on a sliding mound of jam? It's quite a loaded question because you can see where I'm going to go with this.
Yeah. I'm just trying to reverse it.
Imagine
Yeah.
this, right?
A sea of jam.
No, don't imagine that.
No.
Just your scone,
Yeah. Got my scone.
lashings of butter, as much butter as you want,
that's right,
right? It's
yeah.
not about how much you've got of that.
And
No
salted
one's
butter.
judging here. No one, have whatever you want.
Yeah, okay.
And then a nice, good, big dollop of cream, but with the... No, just hear me out.
Go on.
But you make a slight indentation on the top of the cream, so it's like a bed.
Yeah. So
Right?
you're going to get a pool of jam.
I think how much jam you can then put in that almost that creamy cup.
Mm. Yeah. Okay.
That's my.
So
it's,
why
it's
is your
physics.
sister-in-law who doesn't listen to this?
Because she's
cross?
Cornish and she goes crackers when I say that I put
Okay.
cream on first. But I just think it's a physics thing for me. It's not. I don't really care how it all goes down the same way, doesn't it? It really doesn't matter about the order, whether it's fat. What do you mean? Of course, it's literally it does not matter. It's like saying I have crackers on top of my cheese. It literally doesn't matter, does it?
Do you let baked beans touch other foods, or do you have them in a separate pot?
No, I don't have them in a separate. Yeah, places do that.
Yeah.
Didn't the Crafty Egg do that? Have a separate pot.
Yeah,
They
I
just
think
wang
so.
it all on. Yeah.
No, they didn't. They mix.
So where are you with this? Are you just pointing
I
out
don't
and
want to
making
start
an
getting. I
observation?
don't want to start getting into food.
I think baked beans on top of potatoes is okay.
Okay, move on. So that's number one, Cornwall. I'm bored of that.
No, jam and cream. My mum, she texts
Cornish?
me. No, she lives in Cornwall.
Okay.
She texts me after this. She loves our podcast. Hi, mum.
Sorry about the swearing, Mum.
She's all right. I'm a big boy now. I can swear. She texted me and said, "I found out what apple water is." I went, "Brilliant! What is it?"
Yeah.
And she went, "It's water that has had apples in it." And I went, "Oh, yeah." That's kind of where we got to as well. It's basically just apple flavored water.
So it's basically diluting the smoothie that we talked about.
Yeah, pretty much. It's water that has had apple near it. I mean, you might.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's a thing. I mean, it's a thing in terms of.
But it's been created to explain how there's some water in a smoothie.
Because you couldn't just have water, could you? Imagine if on the ingredients
people
it's
go
had
outrage. Yeah.
yeah, I'm spending £3.
And some of it's water.
Yeah,
but in
absolutely,
effect it is.
Yeah.
Shout out to Adam on this.
All right.
I haven't heard from him for a while. And he said, you'll like this. And he sent me, do you know, I think in America, I might be wrong on this, but we get a lot of correspondence from America, so I'm sure someone will tell us. I think I've plugged that before, haven't I?
Actually, it was only the last episode where you haven't mentioned America.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think there's 32 different forms, basically, of sugar, but it can be called 32 different things.
Okay.
And I saw a cookery program the other day, or I wasn't watching a cookery program. I either heard on the radio or saw something on TV, and someone said they were making something like, we're making sugar-free waffles. And they said, here's the recipe. Instead of sugar, use golden syrup.
Priceless.
Yeah. Shut up.
Yeah.
But why Adam's, the thing that he sent through to me was good, that invert syrup was one of the things. That's another name for sugar. Invert.
What's that?
No idea. Should we look it up?
Yeah.
Go on then.
We're saying on the last one about just people coming up with names for things.
But the interesting thing was that they'd done it on a font and they turned invert upside down. And I thought, you've gone to some effort there. But we need to know what invert syrup is.
It's an edible mixture of two simple sugars, glucose and fructose.
So fructose is fruit sugar, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's basically sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah. But invert syrup.
Is it almost like anti-sugar, you know?
Sugar's nasty side.
Yeah. Oh, God. It's rubbish, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've got ducks as my third bullet point. Why have I got that under Cornwall?
The thing we said about lockdown.
Yeah. Go on then.
Well, no. We were saying that you can
have, yes.
With your partner.
No, go on, say it.
You can have sex with your partner, but you can't play tennis with them.
Yep.
And in the same article, it said you can shoot ducks, but you can't feed them under lockdown too. And like I said, I'm not strictly...
That makes sense. So you can go out hunting?
Yes, you can go out hunting, yeah.
But you can't go out...
You could feed them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it though. I like the idea of it.
Okay.
Police and gym.
Yeah.
Just on the subject of lockdown.
The reason this made me cross, firstly, I didn't send you the whole video.
No.
But for those people who don't know, a gym in Essex stayed open in lockdown too, against the government guidelines.
It's only within the last 2 days.
Yes.
Right.
And this is very interesting that the legal standing between law and guidelines. And one of the things that's being used now is, have you heard this thing? It's for some historical law, and the person says, I am a living woman or I am a living man and do not recognize these laws or something. I think there's some legal loophole that people think that these fines won't be enforceable. And I think it's along the lines that the government can't basically suddenly go, no one can use a gym. I think there's a legal challenge to the legality of just someone, because if you took that to its natural conclusion, that the government could say, you must not eat, it's against the law. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay,
Basically,
you're free. You're
a free person, so there are certain things. And so this gym, And the video had, I counted 12. Evidently, there was 13 policemen,
Yeah.
not social distancing, 3 police cars hammering on the door and saying to this person, "Are you the owner of this gym?" And she said something along the lines of, "I'm a living woman and under, whatever this particular thing is."
Right, okay.
And he said, are you going to give me your details? And she just repeated it. So I think there's like a bit around, just keep repeating this.
Okay, right.
And he said, well, I have I'm now going to take you in because I'm assuming that you're the owner of this gym and you'll be liable for a fine of £10,000. And there was 10 people working out in the gym, and evidently they are all going to be fined for working out in the gym.
Okay, not the owner. So the people the
owner as well. She
okay,
was the owner, but she didn't state that she was, but they knew she was. Right. So she's now been taken. And what I wanted to raise, and we haven't really done much on COVID, and we haven't sort of, apart from our little masks, but there was 2 things for me. 12 or 13 policemen. Mm-hmm. Just think about that. Think of everything that's happening in this world. And 12 or 13 policemen got in 3 police cars going, we need to drive to a gym because there's a woman who is allowing people to squat and bench press. Therefore, we will need 12 or 13 of us to sort that situation out. And compare that to everything else that's happening. And what I did on my Insta story was the protests in Manchester about the students. A load of fences have been put up, and they decided...
They spent 11 grand on it and hadn't really discussed it, hadn't really told them what they were doing and why they were doing it. So
the students, I listened to the students have a protest, and this woman that was sort of leading the students had a megaphone and was saying, blah, 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 we don't want this. So they smashed the fences down and the university apologised. And I'm thinking, okay, so you've committed criminal damage,
there was a lot of them,
right or wrong.
All
there was hundreds of them,
there was,
not social distancing, but you've got 10 people in a gym. And the point I wanted to make this is that under the government's guidelines, 15 people can meet indoors for support group activities. So the definition of Support Act in the guidance was things like mental and physical health. So it was things like...
That's covered there and then, right?
Yeah.
Mental and physical well-being,
Yeah. But the second thing I wanted to make out was that one of the reasons we can't play football on a Monday night is that we don't come under the heading of elite sport. So someone said to me,
well, the truth.
How come the Premiership is playing... how come all these people are playing football... But I can't play tennis with one of the person.
Because they're well good at it.
Yeah, because they're well good at it. So obviously COVID isn't going to affect superstars. But if you think of the actual logic, so you can have 22 men on a pitch, tackling each other.
Well, hugging each other after a goal now,
all that, whereas I can't be 30 metres away from someone playing tennis. So that's why I was saying in the last podcast, lockdown 2 to me feels that people are actually questioning the legitimacy. But I want to take this one step further, and this has only just come up. So under elite sport, the government, the authorities have decided what's elite sport. So my athletics track is now shut. So I can't run around a track in the open air.
Or even on your own?
Even on my own. The track has to shut because it's not elite. If I was an Olympian or elite, I could.
But you do train with an elite.
I train with 2 people in the squad. They're not
GB,
there at the moment. They were GB runners.
Yeah, so they could go down there and train.
Yes. And if I was an elite coach and training them, I could go down with them.
So what makes you an elite?
Well,
in your okay.
So what's happened?
Jumping the gun again?
Yeah. So what's happened is that in order, because I actually was going to say on Monday night, if the definition of elite is being top of your game in terms of you
could go age, because I was thinking age group.
Yeah, I could go, well, I'm top 20 in the UK for my sprinting, so that's fairly elite.
You're elite for your age group, yeah, absolutely.
And then you get into semantics. Anyway, they've said what elite is. So for football, they have said elite is Premier League, Championship, and Divisions 1, 2, and then the next 2 non-league divisions are seen as elite. So basically anyone who's sort of semi-professional or above is considered elite, which means the league are going to continue playing all their games. So all these people can continue earning a living. But once you get to a certain level, you can't do the same activity because your standard of football isn't as high. Now that's ridiculous. If it's about disease control, it makes no difference whether you're David Beckham, Ronaldo, or someone running around on a Sunday league. It's still 22 people on the same area of land. However, they have to have rules, I guess. So this Saturday is the FA Cup. And for those not in the UK, 25% of our listeners who don't live in the UK, the FA Cup, big football competition, oldest football competition in the world, but it starts off with people that don't even play football for a living.
It's basically, isn't it an affiliated FA?
Yeah. You can basically not be footballers, but if you've got an affiliated club, you enter at round one. Yeah,
there are certain leagues, isn't it? Certain.
Yeah. You can go to the level of basically you don't even get paid for playing football.
You could be an amateur. Yeah. So you could have another job, just play it at the weekend, train in the week, play at the weekends. And
so these non-league clubs have gone through all these. And so when they mix with the league clubs, I think there's a certain number, I think it's around 15, 20, will get to the first round proper, as it's called.
Yeah.
And that's today. And someone said, but they're not elite, so they're not allowed to play football.
Right.
And so how are we going to have an FA Cup when a number of the teams...
You've got one team that can, one team that can't.
So do the higher team get a bye because the other ones aren't allowed to play football? The guidance states they cannot operate as a team. So the FA have got round this with the government in a very clever scientific way. So they've just said, doesn't matter, just play.
Right.
So the guidelines
that's lovely, isn't it?
So going back to my gym, if you were in a gym and you're an Olympic weightlifter, you're allowed to lift weights.
So if that gym theoretically was full of Olympic or elite level lifters, so only the owner, if they weren't, would be the one getting fined. All the others would
be allowed. No, she wouldn't be fined because she would be able to run that because she would obviously...
So she could stay open for elite.
Well, she would be a coach of an elite group, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But the point I'm saying about the gym is that the government have said, because the FA Cup is a national institution, we'll let people who on Friday weren't allowed to play football can play it on Saturday, because it'd be taking the piss if they couldn't, because it would mess everything up. So surely the people in the gym...
Look how silly we'd look as a government.
Yeah.
At least to their bloody worries right now.
So it's almost like if elite is a movable feast, how do we not know the people in those gym were, of national qualification? I don't know. And that's why I don't think lockdown 2 is lockdown 1, because people are looking at it and saying, you're just taking the piss.
Yeah, big time.
Doesn't make sense.
Doesn't.
My daughter had to break through a barrier in a supermarket to get raspberries because they had distinguished between essential and non-essential items in terms of the fruit. The mango, the raspberries. No, but behind like plastic screens.
But so they had the raspberries there behind screens.
But you weren't allowed to take
not put them out.
Well, I don't know. Maybe they've been out and then they've just gone, can't have these. This is what you could have
won. So they've been defined as non-essential now.
Yeah. And the mango. So it was the more glamorous of your fruits. Apple, pears and bananas were there to a penny. And tropical zing, because that comes under apples and bananas.
Wedding reception.
Mm-hmm.
You sent me a picture of your mum and dad's receipt for their wedding reception.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want me to describe what I've seen?
Yeah.
You sent me a receipt dated 23rd of June, 1958.
Yeah.
For, is it a hotel? What is it? Frogmore Street.
You need to look in the very top left corner because this is relevant.
There it is. Sorry. Okay, so it's the Hatchet Inn.
The Hatchet Inn.
On Frogmore Street in Bristol, which is still called the Hatchet.
Yeah.
Don't know whether it's an inn still. I think it's just a pub, isn't it? These days. So it's where your dear mum and dad had their wedding reception.
Yeah.
Where did they get married?
Don't know. Filton, I think. I don't know.
Okay.
I should know really, shouldn't I? I just found this, I was sorting out some of my stuff after going through my dad's possessions, and I just thought it was interesting how times have changed when there's a lot of programs on the television about arranging marriages, and the average cost is 24,000 or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
And so this was it was also cute that this is on a piece of paper and typed. It's just like
proper letterhead, isn't it? Yeah.
And all the typing is not quite consistent, so the commas are like too dark. Do you know what I mean? There's too much ink on a comma.
The full stops are big, aren't they?
They are big full stops, yeah. So wedding reception, 21st of June. So the buffet was for 44 people and it cost £12. Prices have gone up since then, haven't
they? So it's 44 persons at 5, is that 5 and 6pence?
5 and 6pence is just under 30 pence.
Right.
So a third of a pound for people that aren't in Britain. And the next one just got me. I guess this was done on what was actually consumed rather than was ordered. So
that's a good point. Yeah.
It's like we're going to charge you on what you get through. So it's 11.5 bottles of sherry. just over £1
Hadn't
each.
noticed that until you just...
Yeah, I just thought there's I can imagine one person going I can't finish a whole bottle. One bottle of martini cocktail that was almost £2. That must have been for my mum. Sundry bar drinks, which was just over £1. So there's obviously somebody that didn't drink sherry.
Yeah.
Maybe someone who wanted a beer. Bearing in mind, my dad was a rugby player.
How many pints of lager could you have got for, what, 1 and 2?
Just over £1.
I don't know how to read
you struggle with that one.
Well, there's 3, isn't there? There's 1 decimal point, 2 decimal point, 6. Is that one... What's that? How do you read that?
The problem is that in these days, there was 240 pennies in £1.
Oh. What's wrong with us?
Whoever decided that? Let's have a simple system. What do America do? They have 100 cents in a dollar. Let's have 240.
Had to have been a Conservative government, hadn't it, to make it so complicated.
And then the final one was cigarettes. I love that at the wedding reception, they actually you were able to buy cigarettes.
Yeah, as part of the package.
And the groom was going to pay for
What I really love is that there's no rent. There's no room rent or anything.
There's no food.
That's a good point.
This is a wedding reception.
Yeah.
The wedding breakfast was sherry. We mentioned it before. I'm remarkably proud of Bristol. I love Bristol. I've travelled a lot. I think it's a fantastic city. Sometimes it's a little bit up itself because we think we're a little bit better than others. Do you know what I mean? We're always a little bit more trendy or a little bit more left field or a little bit more, and we've got Banksy, so therefore. And there's a book called Weird Bristol. And so this isn't actually from the book, but this is just a slightly better reading. So I'm going to just
they've got an Instagram account as well, haven't they?
Yeah, they have, yeah. So just bear with this. This is just taking the hatchet in, which is why I showed I showed it because I think it was cute.
Yeah.
So back in the 1970s, the aptly named Hatchet Pub on Frogmore Street was always full of bikers. It was a real no-go area. It was a rough old pub. There were punch-ups galore, blah, 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 blah. In previous centuries, the Hatchet was frequented by the gnarliest, that's a nice word, the gnarliest pirates in all of Bristol. Bristol did have quite a reputation for pirates, football clubs, known as the Pirates. It has a very good
Not real
seafaring.
pirates?
Yeah, real pirates.
Okay.
Pieces of eight. Long John Silver was written in Bristol, in the land dog of
you in
Trout.
Bristol. Everything was made in Bristol, wasn't it? It all started in Bristol. God.
It did, everything. Nothing happened in the Midlands. The persistent rumour is that the door of the Hatchet is covered in human skin.
I think I've heard that one.
The skin is meant to have been flayed off pirates by some other pirates and then used to upholster the door. Whether this was done as a warning or simply to make use of a very durable material is not recorded.
Pirate skin is particularly durable, is it?
And gnarly, yeah.
Well, it's got to be, isn't it? Barnacles on it and all sorts.
But that's the thing.
Isn't the Hatchet the oldest pub in...
the world? Yeah, Bristol. The world also... Pubs were invented in Bristol. Yeah.
No, but it is. It's 15...
Yeah, it's old. Yeah.
Should we get some proper facts? Not proper, I mean, not like yours weren't, but... So the building dates from 1606.
Okay.
It's pretty old.
Yeah.
Next.
I just like the idea, firstly, that someone took the skin off a pirate and then went to the landlord and went, I've just got this skin. And he went, can you just shove it on the front door?
Yeah. needs a lick of paint or something. We've had our first feature as a podcast.
We have.
On discoverpods.com, which was nice. And they gave us a little bit of...
feedback?
Yeah.
You're still crying? You did take it personally, didn't you?
I did. You were kind of right to point out that I probably shouldn't have done, but I can't help it. When I care about things so much. They wrote a nice little thing saying they are very open with one another, facing the stereotype of men not sharing their feelings head on while exploring meditation, stress, aging, and more. Exchanges can be rambling. That could have been taken.
But that's meant as a positive.
That wasn't the bit. Oh, see, I think you just got a positive mindset. Rambling. I mean, we openly admit we ramble and we're boring.
Not succinct, are we?
No.
We're fairly capricious as well in some of the stuff.
That's a big word.
Thank you. Do you know what it means?
No.
Okay, carry on.
Well, not entirely.
No.
I could have a guess, but then it looks silly.
Well, it's more me that we can change from one mood to the other sort of thing.
Fickle.
Yeah, a bit sort of all sweetness and light, and then I'm biting at you. But just share the bit. I think you misread their representation about the volume.
I'll come into that bit.
Okay.
So exchanges can be rambling with episodes upwards of 50 minutes long, but they are a great pair to keep listeners company. As Damo and Mark say, we're all a work in progress, and this podcast is no exception. I do say that. at the beginning of every podcast.
Yeah.
They strive to be the best versions of themselves. I suppose we do. Resulting in wonderful and deep conversations listeners can learn from. Their voices... Here we go. Their voices can be hard to hear, so make sure to get comfy, settle in, and turn your speakers up.
And you read that as...
I can't fucking hear a thing.
Yeah.
Production shit.
Yes.
I did.
Yeah.
I can read that back, and I still can't take anything else away from it. And you went, oh, it's quite nice. And it's a little bit like, just pull up, get comfy, light the fire, sit back, have a nice. You could take it at that, but I was like, I've worked so hard on the sound and the mastering and stuff.
But we have said sometimes, and I sometimes if I'm listening back, I think you could have a little bit more, not necessarily intonation. I think we both have intonation, but I think it could maybe be a bit more whoopy sometimes.
It's not
a bag, no. But I can see their point.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like, hey, do you know what I mean? It's like,
I just clipped. Talking about sound, I've got to sort that out now. You've blown someone's speakers out.
That's my beta blockers.
That's the opposite effect.
That's my adrenaline.
You sure you're taking the right pill? Give me. No, that's what's written on the. Bet they're uppers. You're taking uppers rather than downers, aren't you?
I wish.
Okay, work-life ballet. So technology and our health. We're talking about your Garmin in the 2 episodes ago, and your heart, and you said it would be good to kind of maybe talk about that. So here we are. That's what we do, right?
Well, it's also it made me think of a quote that you said a couple of podcasts ago when we were talking about taking groceries for our, grandparents, whatever.
Oh right, yeah.
And you were saying, if it's not on Strava, it doesn't happen. And there is still that. And I was listening to a guy on Rich Roll's podcast. The podcast was almost 3 hours, and it was this guy
rambling,
telling the story of his life. And I thought, I've got a few stories. I mean, I even dropped in netball coach, and you just didn't even blink at that one.
No.
But
doesn't surprise me.
This guy had 3 hours of his life. It was, he had done everything. But he was mentioning now that when he runs, the mindfulness, so he's doing stuff around mindfulness and running, and saying running, the event of running was his mindfulness, taking in, exactly as we've said, taking in nature. So he doesn't run with headphones, he doesn't record his runs, and so his attitude to runs has changed.
Old school.
He's still trying, he's still trying to enter a marathon and run less than 3 hours. He's trying to be the best he can be, but the run itself is a mindful experience.
Yeah.
Because what he was saying is, you're almost, where is this bit that each run has to be better than the one before?
Yeah.
We don't do that in every other part of our life. That we constantly have to improve.
I think that's kind of the vibe I probably mentioned. I think I said about it, by measuring something, you're changing the result.
Yes.
You're changing the result.
Yeah.
Just reading about kind of wearables and where it's going in the market and thinking well, there's amazing advances in what they're able to find out.
Yeah.
We'll touch on your thing in a minute, but we'll touch your thing in a minute. It's a different podcast. But it's all this good stuff, and it's like, yes, but like everything else with tech, it's the application and that kind of natural balance it finds on its own, which is often a real distortion of what it was originally made for versus what it's suddenly been adopted for.
Yeah. Well, it's just reinforcing what you just said. It's that bit around as soon as the measurement happens, everything changes. So it was like blood pressure. One of the things is the white coat syndrome.
Yeah.
That when you go into hospital, your blood pressure's higher because you're in hospital.
Yeah. Like I did training, and you were having a bit of a spike, I think. Yeah. And you're looking at it, and you're going, I need to stop looking at it. Yeah. And you had the one on your finger as well. You were doing your blood oxygen as well, and you were going, I think this is just making it all worse. Yeah. And then you get into the habit of, you're into a bit of a spiral. Then, aren't you?
Yeah. It's a vicious cycle of my heart rate's high.
Yeah.
And now I know it's high. It's going to go higher.
Worrying about it.
Yeah.
Wearable technology in healthcare includes electronic devices that consumers can wear, like Fitbits and smartwatches, and are designed to collect the data of users' personal health and exercise. US consumer use of wearables jumped from 9% in 2014 to 33% in 2018, according to Accenture. According to Business Insider Intelligence research, the total installed base of fitness tracker and health-based wearables in the US will grow at an annualized rate of 10% to surpass 120 million by 2023. The upward trend in wearable fitness technology will influence the decision of insurers, health providers, and companies to take advantage of the benefits of wearable health monitoring devices. Insurers can lessen the rising cost per patient by using wearables as a means of increasing customer life value. Wearable technology incentivizes behavior that reduces hospital visits and readmissions due to poorly managed personal health. Companies are also seeing benefits of offering wearable healthcare technology to employees, according to Business Insider. Healthier corporate culture is shown to reduce employee turnover. Employers who offer 5 or more well-being best practices had an average turnover of 18% compared to 29% to those that offer 2 or fewer. But
Have
people
you heard the
got
new
them.
Amazon equivalent of Fitbit?
No, have they got their own?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
The new Amazon equivalent of Fitbit, which is almost, it just looks like a bit like a tag that I used to put on offenders' ankles back in the day. But
Okay.
it records your voice and how you speak, as in the moods you used.
Right.
Like if you spoke happily or crossly, or
Right.
and then it lets you know
How you?
when you spoke in a certain way.
So if you've spoken with anger, it'll go, "Ooh,
Oh yeah,
sensing you're a little bit angry."
yeah, and it records
It's
it
like,
and
yeah, I fucking
shares
know.
it as well.
Now I'm
I
really
think.
fucking angry.
Yeah, don't tell me how to be.
No, I'm livid. You are feeling livid at that. Yes, I fucking know. And so forth.
You need to calm down a bit. You need to calm down.
Isn't that the worst thing? If a bit of tech tells you to calm down,
Yeah.
it's back to my Calm app. I would literally smash the hell out of it. I would. Again, I've got angry just thinking about that whole thing. It's almost like my press ups. I'm out of breath.
Let's have a very quick look. It's the Amazon equivalent of Fitbit. That's how it's been sold. And it records, and you can turn this off, but the default is it records your voice and the intonation and basically goes, "You were very smiley earlier." Or
So yeah, there's some really good stuff about wearables.
yeah.
And we can plug them into our health scheme at work, and everyone gets benefits off the back of it. So the healthier they are, the more steps they do, the more activities they do, the more incentives they get. And points they
Interesting,
get
you
towards
mentioned that in the last podcast. You were starting to say, "I'm going to go for walks in the morning," but the push wasn't saving a bit of money on your insurance. It was like,
or to get a free coffee from whatever the providers are.
You're doing it for your peace of mind or your control over your environment.
Yeah, I think some people are driven by that.
Yeah,
and like I was saying, there's that. The technology is so good, and the amount of things it is. We'll talk about what it's monitoring in a minute for you. But I've read, there's even trials into wearables monitoring your sweat for glucose intake, all sorts of things. So you think, well, how far is it actually going to go?
Well, Apple 6 watches do ECGs now.
They do.
Yeah, without the need for all those stickers. Yeah. And they are. I mean, I have an ECG machine that I put on the back of my.
Okay.
But it's like a separate unit. But yeah, they're built into Apple 6, and that might be now. I love my smartwatch that I've got, and it's really good for monitoring my heart. But I'm sort of thinking maybe I need the ECG.
Okay.
So that is a good selling point.
Yeah. Just a quick cover off the things it can do for people who don't know about wearables. So prevention of diseases and maintenance of health. So this is quite good. I didn't realise, but fall identification and prevention. So vulnerable people who are likely to fall over and can send alarms to people, and that's really clever. Physical activity and interaction monitoring, mental status monitoring, sports medicine, weight control and monitoring, public education, and specific disorders. Cancer survivors, I think cancer survivors statistically are less active after, I guess after recovery and all that kind of thing. Patients with strokes, patients with brain and spinal cord injuries, chronic pulmonary patients, heart disorders, blood disorders, diabetes care management, Parkinson's disease, autism, depression, etc. The list is long in terms of all the things that it can cover. And obviously, as the technology gets better, that's only going to improve the quality of the data. And obviously, there's some massive companies. So the 4 big tech companies, Alphabet, who is basically Google, Amazon, Apple, and Microsoft, are accelerating their pursuit of the healthcare market. And they're starting to hone their strategies in on specific corners of that ecosystem. So everyone can understand the benefits and this, obviously, and the potential revenues involved. I mean, I know how you feel about kind of gathering data on individuals. This is another level, isn't it? So not just where you are, you know what I mean, what you might be doing, your levels of activity, but they could get to the point where they'll start to send you certain medication or treatments or whatever based on exactly what's going on.
I'm all in favour of that.
I mean, your coffee machine in terms of
Yeah.
knowing what time you're having the coffee and what kind of coffee you're having and all that kind of thing,
Yeah.
and the temperature of the water. It is that, but for your body,
and that makes perfect sense. Like, as we are in lockdown now, I need to change my medication. I'll get a telephone call. That's what I've been offered.
Okay.
And so on Monday, when I change my medication, instead of going into a doctor and saying, this is my situation, this is what I want, and him maybe listening to my heart, I'm going to have to do a telephone conversation. Well, if I was able to download things like my heart rate, I mean, I'll explain it to him, but if they trusted your watch or whatever element it is, if they trusted that enough that the quality was good, and so the ECG from the Apple machine just gets fired through to the doctor, then there's massive savings there. You don't need to have someone do an ECG if Apple can do it that well. I mean, you have to, I guess that it's, or rely that it's a good enough quality. I think the bit I was just mentioning to you, I don't know why we say off air. I can just say the thing I was mentioning to you. But the new voice monitoring tool in the Amazon Halo, which is very competitively priced, it's like cheaper than a Fitbit.
I didn't know about this.
But it has a membership, which I think is brilliant, because we've been talking before about this idea of, what is it, small. So basically you pay, like some podcasts. Micropayments, yeah. So Amazon have got a brilliant one here. So you basically, the loss leader is the band, the Halo band that you put around your wrist.
Yeah.
And then you pay a small membership to unlock and
is that the $4 per month or $3.99 a month?
Yeah.
So what does it do?
So this is my understanding, and I've only just literally found out about this, and I'm surprised it wasn't more of a thing. It's a new voice monitoring tool on these Halos called Tone, and Amazon promised that it knows what happiness sounds like, and this new tracking, you too can sound happy. So what it does is analysing the way you speak so that you can try and improve the way you come across. So on Halo, you can actually opt in. It's set as the default that it does monitor it, so it's more opt-out than opting in, I think.
It sounds like it's the only thing it does, right?
No, it's like a Fitbit. It does body composition. It probably does a bit more than a Fitbit, actually. It does other stuff. Okay. But you can opt in to let it sample snippets of your speech throughout the day, or turn it on for up to 30 minutes at a time, and you get a detailed report on how you sounded in a particular conversation. And so one of the marketing that I was saying is that you go for an interview, you turn your Halo on, it'll come back and say you came across as, arrogant or friendly or whatever. I'm not getting one. Powered by AI algorithms, it's designed to detect the positivity and energy in human voices and purports to offer users feedback on their tones so they can improve their communication skills and relationships.
Right.
So the AI model to be able to to look at someone's voice and be able to, does it get sarcasm and irony and, all that sort of thing.
But I've immediately gone to what your default probably normally is, which is, aren't they just getting loads and loads of extra data from us in terms of, because the voice activation, that's all what they're about in terms of Alexa and everything, massive on voice and AI. Isn't that just another way of sampling as many people as they can? And we're all paying for their own research. I mean, that's the other thing. You're buying this thing and then you're paying $4 a month.
Yeah.
You're paying them to do research on you effectively. Well, because arguably, what really is the benefit there? But
also the accuracy. A couple of professors of psychology have written, one from University of New York has said, our perception of a happy voice sounds like depends or varies depending on culture, gender, ethnicity, and other personal factors. And like quite often, I can be ecstatically happy and I still sound like a grumpy sod. So it's. I don't think AI is going to be able to get those nuances of. Yeah. It can be a general sort of,
It sounds very invasive and kind of. Is it just constantly telling you? I mean, again, back to distractions and my simplify. Isn't that just more things we're adding in here?
But as an individual, if you go back, you look and go, oh, this band around my wrist doesn't think I was very positive. And then so things like self-doubt and self-examination come.
It's just constantly criticising you, isn't it?
And so what if you sound really positive? You might not be. You might be putting it on.
This is the perfect time for sounding pissed off, actually, because this person needs to hear what I've got to say and I'm not very happy about it.
Yeah.
You're not being very positive. No, it's not. This situation requires anger.
Yeah. I'm trying to get some raspberries. So again, it does sound very invasive. You're right. And the point we were just going to mention in terms of the positivity around recording of my heart, the interesting thing was last night, weighted blanket, I'm getting fantastic sleep. Really, really good sleep.
Okay.
but my watch is telling me that I'm getting 99% deep sleep.
Right.
Now, I am sleeping well.
Bullshit.
But I don't think you can get 99% deep sleep.
No.
But it's...
I'm going to take some of what you're taking, if that's the case.
But maybe this is where the fallibility that comes that, for an average person in an average situation, but somebody else who's got, a health condition or is taking high levels of medication, it's almost maybe the watch can't quite keep up with the signal that's been given. So its interpretation is, you're basically comatose. Which is ironic because my heart is racing. So I don't know whether...
Unless it works out that if it's racing steadily at a steady pace, it might...
There's no variation at all.
That's right. It probably thinks you're asleep.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah. So I think there is limits on how accurate some of these things are, I guess in terms of positivity, not in terms of me speaking positively, but in terms of the information, is that the last 2 occasions this week, so I've been in hospital twice, and both times the first thing I've used is my watch on my phone to back up the argument that I'm making.
Yeah.
So I think I told you the second time I went in, it was a junior doctor, and I said about my heart rate, and it was 107 when she took it, and she said, "That's not too bad." And I went, "It is." And she said, she must have just read Google. This was worrying because when she looked at what I said I had, she said, the average person's heart rate is between 60 and 100. And I went, that's a range. And maybe if you had a medical condition or you were morbidly obese, your heart rate might be 100. But I'm an athlete and a PT, so let's take the guess that I'm at the lower end of that. Yeah. So if my average resting heart rate is 55 and I'm 107, that's double. But her thing was, well, the range is 60 to 100, so you're only 7 outside the range. And it was really interesting. And she was saying to me, it isn't that bad. She said, like, lots of people have at 100. And I went, but look at the patient.
Time?
Yeah, this is 24 hours a day and at rest.
Yeah.
When I then got the phone out and said, look at this graph.
Right, okay.
And it became a visual demonstration.
Yeah.
It was, there's a lot of red there. And then I flicked back and I said, before my heart went into here, it's all blues and greens.
Yeah.
And as soon as she saw that, it gave credibility to what I was saying. Yeah. And she accepted it. And then the next doctor that came in asked to see it as well. So I think that's the positive message. I think if these continue to improve and the data continues to be that accurate, then this is going to save medical people you don't need to go to doctor for an ECG if your watch does it. And that's a massive saving. I
was going to read this stat. With the global wearable device market anticipated to reach 19.5 billion in 2021, wearable technology has the momentum to dramatically alter our current healthcare economics, replacing just 1 in 5 outpatient consultations and home health visits with digital visits would save about $40 billion a year in healthcare costs. That's what they reckon.
Yeah, that's awesome.
In a study involving patients with implantable cardiovascular devices, remote monitoring decreased healthcare costs for those patients by 25%. If wearables were to replace even a few of the many costly gold standard tests and services mentioned in this review, which I can put a link to, it becomes clear that this kind of combined saving could effectively reduce much of the healthcare burden.
I mentioned to you a little while ago, and I love to you come out with the fact and I go, I know somebody. It's the way I go. Yeah. I've got an anecdote about that. But yes, one of my clients was demonstrating similar symptoms to me in terms of heart palpitations. And he had a smartwatch and I just asked to look and there was direct comparisons with mine. And I wasn't giving a diagnosis, but I said I would have concerns that there's a big similarity. Anyway, long story short, he went down and had not the same condition as me, but similar. And they treated him slightly different to me. And what they did was put in a small implant in his chest that sent his heart rate to a computer in the hospital. And basically, when it went high, they could have a little look and go, no, that's all right. It's just been there for a minute. He's cool. But if it went too long, he could get a call. I think he might have had an app on his phone as well.
Right, okay. Wow.
But they could go, no, he's in trouble. We need to give him a shout and look at him. But you think the savings on that, you don't need to go for regular checkups. Yeah. Tiny little thing in his chest.
Or if you feel bad, they could, it's all about having the data in the right place and the same systems. Because of you could ring someone and go, I've got your stats here right in front of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be amazing, wouldn't it?
So this is a lot of positive stuff. It isn't just
No,
a
it isn't.
Strava run, is it?
Yeah, and I mean, there might be elements of how much you check it. Is that causing extra anxiety in that thing? But broadly, instinctively, it feels like the pluses outweigh the minuses.
Yeah, definitely. It's good stuff.
Okay. So lifting in lockdown. In drop and give me 20. Part 2. Squats. Does this mean I've got to get off and do...
No, you don't.
I went off the hook. Are you doing them this week?
I'm not moving.
You got doctor's notes. Not fair.
Yeah. My death on your conscience. Although it might help.
Can I eat this caramel biscuit that's in front of me?
No, we don't eat during.
What's that over there? Half-eaten chocolate tunnocks in...
I'm not going to eat on air. No,
I have to edit all the chomping out.
This is going to be 2 or 3 minutes. Cool. This is simplify. No. The tautology klaxon will come out again, won't it? No, and this is a shameless promotion. I asked Amelia before we started today, could I use this? And she said, fine.
So promoting Amelia again. Unbelievable. She's got about 40 million followers anyway. We could do with a few of those.
So one of the things that I think is overcomplicated in physical fitness is that there are only a certain number of actual moves. So the moves you have are push, pull, and lift. Mm-hmm. And we often talk about that when we're working out. So if you were doing certain exercise, I'll say this is a push and explain which way you're going to breathe and things like that. And a lot of the lower body come under the heading of lifts rather than pushes and pulls.
Okay.
Mills PT was with us on the 15th, and there's no point reinventing this and me trying to do a dodgy video of me squatting badly, or you.
We'd all prefer to watch her do it. Yeah.
So we're going to write out a little bit like we did with the triceps, a very basic 5-minute workout, and then we'll do a link to Amelia doing these exercises so you can look at form.
Great.
The reason why you have PTs, or there's a number of reasons why you have PTs, but one of the things is being very strict on form. Mm-hmm. So just to say to someone, right, do 30 seconds of squats without knowing
what they look
how
like.
They look like. Sure. So when it's in the show notes, the link to the video, look at things like, so I'm just looking at this now, look at the way that Amelia's squatting, look at the footwear that she's using and her feet, take that on. So the first one simply is going to be squats.
Yep.
Great exercise, compound exercise. Also, for those on weight loss, it actually burns calories after you finish doing it, so that's a bonus.
Yep.
There are other exercises that Amelia's doing on here, but we're not going to do those. We're just going to do these 3 basic exercises. We'll say the reps, the timings, same as the triceps, but have a look at these to make sure your form's good.
Perfect.
And that's where we'll go.
Okay, what have you got?
Preparation is key.
What does it prevent? Piss poor performance. Is it the 5 Ps?
Don't know. I've been
perfect. Preparation prevents piss poor performance. There you go. 5 Ps. There's a little takeaway for someone.
So I got a text from a client. I'd sent something about what I called a home workout program. So over lockdown, wasn't related to what we've been talking about today and last podcast. It was about what I'm going to do with my clients. So it sounds like a great idea. And we were talking about Zoom. And the guy said, also, just listen to your podcast. Interesting. But in particular, I smile at your trips to the range for funny or inspirational quotes. Mm-hmm. I actually have one such sign, which I bought from the tat shop at Centre Parks. It makes me smile. And it says,
I'm just amazed that there was a tat shop at these Centre Parks. Is there anything they don't have at Centre Park? I've never been. It sounds ace.
You've never been Centre Parks?
No, never been.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's costly.
I always think it's like the Truman Show.
Yes, or Stepford Wives.
Is it?
Yeah, no, it is. You are being...
Is it like you're just you walk into a new world?
I think most of the trees are actors.
How are you doing today?
Yeah, everybody's happy.
Okay,
yeah,
right.
No, there's a lot of that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And his sign was, what if the hokey cokey really is what it's all about? So...
Good.
And it sometimes makes me think there's things that we might sort of mildly criticise and people are listening and smiling and thinking, he's taking the piss out of me. I have it. But then you have those signs, don't you? But
I burnt all the signs this bonfire night.
Research. You know when you research something, you just want an answer. And then Google will give you 70 answers.
Yeah.
I read something that the flame on a candle doesn't cast a shadow.
Right.
Mind blown.
And?
Someone had said about it. I think it's
Of
true.
course it casts a shadow. It's light.
If you shine a light on a flame, it doesn't cast a shadow.
Does any fire?
I don't think it does, because it retracts or refracts. I haven't researched it. I'm just throwing
Basically
it out
shining
there.
light at light, isn't it?
Yeah. Probably shines it back.
Okay, so I'm just it's not good for a podcast, is it? Just thinking about what people listening to me think about what you're talking about. I don't know what to do with that.
No, okay.
I'd like to. I feel like I need to do something.
Or maybe do it next time then.
Dispel it or go. Oh, that's very interesting. Thank you very much. My life is more complete now. You have a poem about cookies.
So I'm just going to read it in the style of Jackanory.
Great.
I think a lot of people will have heard this, but I don't care. It's called The Cookie Thief, a poem about how oblivious we can be to how wrong we can be. But it's done in a positive way.
So that's all over.
Yeah. It's by Valerie Cox. I don't know why they call it a poem. It isn't. A woman was waiting at an airport one night with several long hours before her flight. Or maybe that's why it's a poem.
Because it's literally got rhyming couplets in it.
Okay, so
Genius.
this is a poem.
Poor Valerie. It's probably your life's work.
Yeah. A woman was waiting at an airport one night with several long hours before her flight. She hunted for a book in the airport shops, bought a bag of cookies and found a place to drop. She was engrossed in her book, but happened to see that the man sitting beside her, as bold as could be, grabbed a cookie or two from the bag in between, which she tried to ignore to avoid a scene. So she munched the cookies and watched the clock as the gutsy cookie thief diminished her stock. She was getting more irritated as the minutes ticked by, thinking if I wasn't so nice, I would blacken his eye. With each cookie she took, he took one too. When only one was left, she wondered what he would do. With a smile on his face and a nervous laugh, he took the last cookie and broke it in half. He offered her half as he ate the other. She snatched it from him and thought, oh brother, this guy has some nerve and he's also rude. Why didn't he even show any gratitude? She had never known when she'd been so galled, and sighed with relief when her flight was called. She gathered her belongings and headed to the gate, refusing to look back at the thieving ingrate. She boarded the plane and sank in her seat, then sought a book which was almost complete. As she reached in her baggage, she gasped with surprise. There was a bag of cookies in front of her eyes. If mine are here, she moaned in despair, the others was his, and he tried to share. Too late to apologise, she realised with grief that she was the rude one, the ingrate, the thief.
Bravo.
It's all right, isn't it?
Yeah, I like it.
I like that. It's like cliched but not cliched, and that happens to us. It happens.
It does. More daily.
Yeah. And it is that bit around, we start off thinking we're in the right, and then there's no sort of retrospection. There's no sort of, let me just look at this again. What made me think of this was, came to a place in the road last night where there's, the road narrows, but there's nobody's right of way. There isn't like a big arrow one way.
Yeah.
So I stopped and I flashed the car to come. And then he flashed me. And my first thought was, for fuck's sake, I've just flashed you. You should thank me. So he's flashing. Then I thought, we're going to go at the same time and crash.
Great.
Anyway, I thought, I'll just go.
Yeah.
So I drove past
him. Did you floor
him.
it? I'd have floored it.
Yeah. But I didn't flash him to say thank you, because in my head,
you'd already done it.
I've already done the first
I probably
flash.
thought you twat.
So as I drove by, he slammed his horn on. So what had happened is two people...
Yeah, he probably hadn't seen you.
...had been nice to each other. No, you first. No, you.
No, fuck you. No, fuck you.
And that just reminded me of that poem. It was like we've gone from both being nice to each other to both hating each other. And that was the same. So I just like that poem.
That's really good.
Thank you.
Oh, we have forgot one thing.
Tell me.
And it's behind you.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how we integrate this in. Do you want me to hold it up? Or do you
I want to see if I can fit in it.
Why do you...
Because you said I was too fat to.
I didn't use those words.
You did. You didn't have to.
Too tall. You're 5'11" and 3/4.
Yeah.
Well, you can
that, I mean, that is quality. So Mark is now holding. I think I've seen you wear that. You've been out on a night with that, right?
No, Just feel it. It's like itchy.
Oh, that is itchy, isn't it? So Mark's holding up his 80s mohair jumper. Is that the only one left from that?
Well, that's the only one I knitted. I didn't keep the ones that I sold because other people wanted to keep them. It's traditionally what happens in commerce. We didn't have any leftover stock. No,
thank you.
We were in demand.
Smart ass.
Yeah,
it's nice.
thank you.
I don't think I would fit it.
No,
Too ripped. Not. That was nice, wasn't it? You're not even going to put it on.
I'm not going to put it on now.
Why? When's the last time you put it on? 1986. You probably go and fit it. Looking at you,
Can
you
fit
probably.
it.
I don't think you could. I think
Why?
you're too big.
No,
I think you're too fat to get the job. No, I think you are. You held it up. It looked like a little kiddie's jumper.
Maybe. I don't know where you're going with this.
It wasn't. I just
No,
you brought it. It's just going to sit on the side,
Yeah.
and no one's going to put it on. It's a jumper. It's what they're made for.
I don't think podcasts and jumpers mix.
Well, maybe people haven't. I think we're pushing boundaries.
Yeah. I think we've exhausted the boundaries. They'd rather have Brian than my jumper.
Bet Brian would fit that.
Yeah, and look better than we do.
Yeah.
Do you think he'll come back for a second one?
Now he will.
We need it for our
Now
ratings.
he's got.
Now he's on side.
You've just mentioned a name.
Oh yeah, sorry.
You'll have to beep that out. We haven't had a beep. I think I will.
Beep.
That's it for this episode. Well done for getting this far, and thanks for listening. All links and references will be in our show notes. Please make sure you subscribe to us via your podcasting app. And if you are enjoying this podcast and feel you get something from it, then please do tell your friends, family, colleagues, and help us spread the word. Give us a follow on Instagram at I'mFinecast and send us your feedback and questions to our email, which is imfinecast@gmail.com. So in the next episode, I want to follow up on deep fake.
Mm-hmm.
Should have finished Nina's book by then.
Yeah.
And part 3 of lifting in lockdown, which will be the stability.
Stability and balance. And I would like this piece of paper here that I've been hiding, I would like to refer to this because we can park this. This is somebody advertising, trying to sell me a service whilst insulting me.
Brilliant.
They've missed a trick. You don't insult the people you're trying to get to buy your product.
That's a nice tease for
yes.
next episode.
But to the point of they're taking the piss out of me and asking me to buy something. So
I don't think I want to know as you tell everybody else. I don't know.
No, I won't. I'll
I
hide
have
it.
to hide it. Cool. All right. We'll see you all in the next episode. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.